Hi, everybody. It's Alex Jarett again with my good friend Jeff Scheetz, who's the CIO of the City of Avondale, Arizona. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hey Alex, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And today we've got a special short segment that is called AI in state and local government. Kind of a hot topic, right, Jeff?
There's a little bit going on in the world of AI right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's timely.
Yeah, it's great. So for doing this, and what we're going to do is we're going to cover headlines in AI in state and local government. And, I think when people hear about state and local government, the first thought in their head is, oh my gosh, surveillance and, you know, right, all these things. But you know, there is some of that happening in terms of for good, right? People are like
Yeah.
trying to serve the citizens and help everybody, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I think AI is a great tool that we can bring in to assist and make things easier for staff, make things better for the public that we're trying to serve. Because in my mind, it's that staff, it's like a great staff assistant, let me call it that, right? And so it's bringing in and helping everybody process paperwork or do whatever it is, just move a little bit faster.
So what we want to do here is get a little past that initial fear that people might have and say, hey, there's actually some really good use cases. And let's start with the headlines to see what people are actually doing or even what they're concerned about, because governance is a key topic and it's important. So I'm going to read these headlines and then we'll pick one or two and you can comment on them as our guest industry analyst today. How states how states and cities can use new now, I guess that's now, can use new federal funds to fix permitting delays with AI. That's interesting. Very interesting. Anthropic launches 15 million cyber defense program for state, local, and tribal governments. That's interesting. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, 15 million. State form coalition to strongly reject proposed federal AI preemption proposal. That's interesting. God, these are all interesting. White House issues advanced AI executive order opting for voluntary state frameworks over mandatory licensing. All right, they're all totally interesting. You pick one. You're the industry expert. Which one should we talk about a little?
I think the first one really just, I even almost touched on that, I think in the introduction there, but
Yeah.
using AI to fix these paperwork intensive processes, it just makes a lot of sense from a organization standpoint, whether
Oh,
you're
look at that. Yeah.
in our case, your city government or state government, but even if you're in the corporate world, there's just a lot of paperwork, right? And whether that's manual paperwork or workflows on the computer, there's a lot of manual review that takes place. And so I think this is a great way where AI can come in. It's very routine what it's looking for. It's got check boxes. This is just a great use case overall for AI. So I think it's just a great way to expand that and again, provide a better service.
I think you're right on the money, and I think it's great that this in local cities can get these grants and they can make their own decisions where
Mhm.
to, what area. And, we just recorded a series of videos with you, and one of them was how you're using AI and how some of your fellow local municipalities are using AI. So what would be just real quickly, what would be a couple, one or two use cases that maybe people haven't thought about?
When I think about these use cases, I think like this one's very common. You're seeing go
Yeah,
along in a lot of municipal governments, not just here, but
yeah,
just across
yeah.
the country with my different contacts. You're really seeing in this use case as that staff assistant too. But again, there's got to be, and I've said this all along, there's that human in the loop, right? But if it can do some of these preliminary checks and save 15, 20 minutes of staff time and every one of these permits applications that come in, that's hours a day that you're saving, and even in a small organization, right? And so I think I mean, this is one of the areas I think that's fantastic
Yeah.
to move forward with.
So I think we mentioned in the video of paperwork, there's a lot of processing of
Mhm.
paperwork. How many times have people tried to get a building? I think you
Yeah,
mentioned like
yeah.
building permits, so that would be a really good example of that. And I think you also mentioned, I just want to cover this other one because I thought it was really interesting from your video. So I'm I want people to watch your video once we release it. Talk just a little about on what's it called when they call 911, the 911 service, right? Where they
Yeah,
have access to more
the
advanced. Go ahead.
Yeah, the drone as a first responder, right? I think was one. Is that the one you're leaning towards?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, so that's getting popular, and somebody calls 911, and it might take minutes for emergency responders to get on the scene if it's an accident or call whatever the call for service may be. But now these drones can be deployed, be on scene within 30 seconds, and really provide camera footage back to the dispatcher,
Yeah,
to those en route, so they know what they're getting into and what to expect before they arrive on scene. So
so
um,
smart.
it is. And again, it's all about community service, right?
And it
Getting
will
people
save
there fast.
lives. It will
Yes, it
save
will.
lives because that 911 operator will say, "Oh my gosh, there's a fire. Fire
Yeah,
department, ambulance, get over there. It's the
yeah,
police. Go
yep,
help them out before the police get there, and
yeah,
then they got to make the call.
yeah.
So the
Those
call is
first
already made.
responders, yeah, the first responders get to gear up and be ready when they get on scene instead of assessing the scene when they get there. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And then when you want to hit on this one, you want to jump to the next one.
I think the Anthropic. I think cybersecurity is always an issue, right? Whether
Yeah.
again state, local, and so I think anything to strengthen and to strengthen cybersecurity and AI is just creating more risks, if you want to call it that, for cybersecurity. And you're seeing stuff in the news all the time about how AI can be used by the bad guys just as much as we're using it on the trying to be on the good side. So I think anything we can do to help strengthen AI for cybersecurity is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a really good insight, Jeff. I mean, you talk about the bad guys. I mean, you and I both have talked about this offline. The bad guys aren't just criminals that are, the bad guys aren't just like hooded criminals, with tattoos that are on their own. These are nation states in some
Yeah. Yeah.
circumstances, and or at least large organizations, and they know what they're doing.
Mhm.
And if you think about a state or local municipality and you think about something like the electrical grid or things like that,
Mhm.
which are critical path for all of us, it's really important that you all are able to, guard us in that way.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a lot going on, not to mention just theft of money, which would
Yes.
be a big incentive. So I think that's great. All right, let's get to the next page. State and local governments petition Senate for 300 million in urgently needed cyber grant funding. Well, we're
Right.
talking about that.
Yep.
Arizona, oh, you know about this probably. Arizona adjourned session after successfully passing trio of comprehensive municipal AI governance bills. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Maryland appoints former federal artificial intelligence leader as first state level chief AI officer. That's really cool.
Yep.
We should lobby for you to become the Arizona state AI officer. That'd be
Hey,
super cool.
I'll be all for that one.
Yeah, you get to wear a badge and everything, like stripes and
I
stuff
like
like
it.
that. It'd be super cool. Governor Phil Scott officially signs historic public therapy chatbot ban into wow. That that's very interesting. Okay, see how long that law holds. I mean, who is not using this for therapy already? Which one do you
Exactly.
want to cover?
Well, I think touching on the one in Arizona, I think several states have done something very similar, right, to this, and a lot of states are jumping on board and trying to put some AI guidelines, guardrails, policies, whatever you want to call it, in place at the state level. And this is something that several municipalities have been involved in, and other organizations in Arizona working directly with the state to help craft these. But again, the focus on these bills, at least in our area, is to make sure that there's a human side of this human stays in the loop. We don't just have an AI
Yeah.
make these random decisions and hope it all works out in the end. So that's, I think, and that's important. I mean, I've talked about that many times.
Well, that's something that your area is doing, but I'm suspecting that some people will make that mistake, be pressured, not follow the guidelines,
Yeah.
and we'll see that
See where it goes.
emerge. Yeah, it
Yep.
happens. We'll see. But I'm glad that someone like you, and that's one reason we like having you get your voice out there to help people that are in your peers and people like that for that. Let's do another one. Do you have another one that you want to hit? Otherwise, I'll talk about that. I want to talk about that last one. It's kind of intriguing.
No, go. That's what I was leaning towards. So go. Let's start there.
All right, what this means and why it's important. This draws a hard legal line in the sand for municipal risk management. Vermont is explicitly stating that while AI is great for administrative work and logistics, public health and citizen emotional well-being carry too much liability to hand it over to unmonitored software algorithms. And I'm going to go on record saying I can't agree more. This stuff can be dangerous. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
kids that have committed suicide, and because the version of a chat bot or AI, you know, didn't have code in it to push them to help. And it just kept going with them, just whatever they wanted to do. And, as I like to say, you realize you're taking advice from something that's been trained on Reddit.
Yeah.
So not that we all secret here, not that I don't go on Reddit. I mean, but you get what I'm saying. You have a little something called discernment, and if someone's got emotional issues or we all go through stress, maybe you want a human that's kind of, experienced with this. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think this is one of those risky areas, right? It's like
Yeah.
this is, I think, kind of goes back to the whole chatbot we talked about earlier on in the session about just on a customer service chatbot. I mean, sometimes we get frustrated with those, when you're not getting the answer you want. And how is this going to be any different, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I know it's trained to different or whatever, but I've gotten frustrated with some of the GPTs out there. I've been playing with them at home and doing something, and I'm
Yeah.
not getting the answer I want, and it knows when I get frustrated, but it's not going to tell me to calm down or whatever it is, right? So I think this is, I think this is a huge one where the humans got to be in the loop, and maybe this helps in some of this can ask some open-ended questions and gather some data, but I think you've got to have that emotion and you got to understand really what's going on the other side of it from a
Totally. And
standpoint, right?
you see these apps that are already being sold that get into this area already,
Yeah.
and they're international, nationwide. And I know just from looking at my own use, sometimes when I ask it something and I've given it the instructions to give me the advice,
Mhm.
it keeps going. It keeps pushing.
Yes.
It's like pushing. And then at
Yes.
the end, it'll do something like, now go, that's it, go run your business now.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's directing. It's not, it's
Right.
crossed over to direction.
Yes.
And I think about, some kid who's having issues and they're on this thing and they're, what should I do? It's telling them. I know it's
Yeah.
telling them what to
Yeah.
do. That is, folks, that's not healthy.
No.
Whoever's coding this, stop with the direction.
Right. Yeah.
These are for us, not the other
Right.
way around. You have any insight on that? You
No,
know,
yeah, exactly. And I think and what I've noticed about AI is it's very confident when it makes a recommendation. Like it's like there's no doubt that this is what you need to do or whatever it is. And again, I don't know.
it sounds confident. It's just picking words. It's been
Yes.
programmed to pick words that make it sound confident.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just guessing. It's just
Yeah.
guessing. Come on. We got another minute. Let's cover one more since we got another minute. How states and cities can use federal funds. We've covered this pretty good. What do you think about that last one? White House issues advance executive order opting for voluntary state frameworks. So this is part of the philosophy of letting the states manage what they want to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I've been in municipal government for 19 years
Yeah,
in a couple different areas, and I think this is something that's very important to on the municipal government side for sure. Is we're
yeah,
we're the closest to the citizens. We feel like we
that's
have
right.
impact right to the citizens, and so I think this is key to where the states and the cities and the counties have their final say. Right? It's not a we don't want that one mandate that's gonna this is what we're gonna do it. I think this is important, and I think you're gonna see most states want to go this route.
Yeah, I like this approach too for exactly the reason you all are closest to the actual citizen. And we all have universal needs and wants, but there are local conditions that prevail.
Yeah.
And I think that's very wise that they're doing that specific one. All right. Any last comments you want to make on what you're seeing in state and local government with AI?
No, I think state and local governments trending right along with what you see in the corporate world. Just with adoption, it's AI is constantly changing. We're seeing people jump on board. We're seeing some resistance from staff, but that's not any different than anything else. So I don't think AI is unique in that sense, but I appreciate it, Alex.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So, Jeff, thanks for being on this special segment where we cover the news for AI and what's going on in state and local government. Jeff Scheetz, CIO, City of Avondale, Arizona. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks again, Alex.